everybody and welcome to my granny scrappy blanket. Scrappy Granny Blanket? One of them two. I apologise for my extraordinarily terrible lighting at the minute because it's pouring down with rain. There's not really much I can do about it because I live in a very dark house. It is what it is. So, we're going to make one of these. Look at this. Oh, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. So just a couple of things from me before we start. You can use any yarn that you wish, any hook that you wish. I would probably suggest though to try and match your hook to your yarn the best that you can. Although saying that, I do tend to use a 5mm hook with DK yarn. That's what I'm going to be working with today. So this took me about a year to make, and if anyone knows me, they'll know that I absolutely am terrible at making blankets. But I had such amazing time making this during the winter months. I started it last December holidays and I finished it just before this December holiday. So it did take me a whole year. As soon as I finished, I was like, I need to make another one because I absolutely loved grabbing this when I had nothing else to do. I didn't really want to think about what I was doing. And because it's a scrappy one, we're going to be using a special knot, which I have a whole tutorial dedicated towards, so you can look at that in depth. And because of that, we're only going to have 2 ends to weave in when it's finished. That's right, two ends. So I am using my DK scraps because I can't close the lid. It's been like this for ages. It's a nightmare. Right, so yeah, I'm going to dive in. And let's do it! Right, to start the tutorial, I am going to be doing a foundation single crochet. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because it has a lot of stretch to it. It's going to really balance out the blanket. If you do a chain, you do run the risk of it being too tight and then your blanket will start to form a rainbow shape. Now, if you're like, I really don't want to do a foundation single crochet, I suggest you go up maybe like a whole hook size. So I'm not using a 5, I'd probably go up to like a 6, so I have loose chains. But whatever you do, we need to make sure that our chain row or foundation single crochet row has a multiple of 3 plus 1 extra stitch. So if you do a chain, I would suggest that when you get to the end and you've got a multiple of 3 plus 1, you chain 1 and then you put a single crochet in every single stitch and make sure that you still have a multiple of 3 plus 1. Okay, so I'm not going to do an in-depth tutorial of the foundation single crochet because I already have one of them and I'm going to link it for you in the description of the video. But just to do a quick recap, you chain 2, 1, 2, come back to your first chain and pop your hook through that, go through both loops, yarn over, pull up a loop, try and keep it loose and not too tight, yarn over, come through the first loop only, yarn over, come through both loops together. So we come through the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first loop, yarn over, go through 2 loops. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I am happy with the width of my blanket. So you might be thinking, well, I don't know how big to make it. Just depends which one you're making really, doesn't it? If you want to go for a child's blanket, I would suggest you can Google it. If you have a child's blanket that you've already done and you like the size of it, match it to that. I did an adult blanket for my one, and do you know what I did? I literally did this foundation row until I laid it across my legs and was like, yeah, I quite like that. That's all right, I'm going to stop there. I just measured mine and it's 162 centimetres for the width. Don't ask me what the length is though, because it's massive, because I had to make it so it fitted my husband. He's very, very tall. But like I said, you can go online, you can Google blanket measurements and aim for those. By the time you've done your chain or your foundation single crochet, and you've added a few rows of stitches, it can stretch. So if you're worried about that, I mean, I wouldn't be worried because it's a blanket at the end of the day, isn't it? But if you don't want it to stretch, I would probably aim for like 5% less of your intended measurement, you know, so it doesn't stretch out too much. So I am going to aim for 162 centimetres because I know that I absolutely love the width of that blanket that I've just shown you. So I will meet you back here when I have done my foundation single crochet to about 162 centimetres for an adult blanket. And I have a stitch count of a multiple of 3 plus 1 extra stitch. So just say, for example, it's 30, I've got 30 stitches. I know that that multiplies by 3 or divides by 3, whichever way you want to look at it, it divides by 3. And then I'd add 1 extra. So that means I'd have 31 stitches. Obviously it's not going to be 31 unless I was making it for a Barbie doll, but yes, wishful thinking. Right, I'll meet you back here when you have your chain or your foundation row. Right, so I have done my foundation single crochet. It's very messy, so don't worry if yours looks just as messy as mine because we're going to be working into these stitches anyway. So I have counted. Don't even ask me if it's 162 centimetres because it was really hard to measure it. So I just did exactly what I did before, got on the sofa, laid down, lay it across me widthways and was like, yeah, I quite like the look of that. So I have got 233 foundation single crochets. I'm just going to say stitches. I've got 233 stitches. Now that doesn't divide by 3, but 234 does. So I need to add another stitch on to make it a multiple of 3, but I also need to add 1 extra stitch as well for the plus 1. So I'm going to have a grand total of 235. So I'm just going to quickly add my 2 stitches on and then we are going to start with the granny stitch. I'm also going to change colour because I have done the whole of my chain in one colour because I've got quite a big ball of yarn here. So what I do is when I have a big ball like this, I do it for a bit and then I'll look at it and think, do you reckon that'll do? And I'll be like, yeah, that'll do. And then I'll just snip it off. And then I'll join in my new colour using a special knot, which I'm going to show you in a bit. Okay, let's start row 1. So I'm going to do a couple of stitches and then I'm going to snip off my end and I'm going to attach a new colour. Because like I said before, I'm working with quite big balls here at the minute. That's not meaning anything rude. I don't know why I giggled, I'm so immature. Right, let's do it. So this is row 1. We're literally laying down our base row of granny stitch. So we're going to chain 3, which is going to class as our first double crochet. 1, 2, 3. We're going to turn our work, so we're going to come back down our foundation row, and in the very same stitch where the chain 3 is coming out of, you're going to pop 1 double crochet. Now this row is going to start and end with 2 stitches in the first stitch and the very last stitch. Right, now we are going to skip 2 stitches and come to the 3rd stitch along and put 3 double crochets in there. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to repeat that all the way down until we get near the end. That's what I'm saying right now. Right, skip 2 stitches, come to the 3rd stitch and put 3 double crochets in there. When I've done this, I am going to change colour because I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing. So you get to pick when you change colour, or you could make a scrap ball using the tutorial that I'm going to link in the description. It's totally up to you how you do it. I'm just going to snip this off. Okay, so this is my old piece of yarn. This is the new colour that I'm going to join in. So we're going to kind of like lay them on top of each other with the new colour at the bottom and the old colour at the top. And then I'm going to pinch that with my thumb and my forefinger and leave a little bit hanging out the end. Now this is where it gets fiddly, and it is fiddly until you get the hang of it, then it just becomes second nature most of the time. I say that, it's probably going to go wrong. Right, so this bit is a bit strange. We're just going to get our new colour, our new working yarn, and we're going to wrap it around our thumb, but we're not going to go around the forefinger. We're going to like squeeze it around and come behind these two bits. It's really hard to do it slowly. Right, so we're going to do that twice. Where is it? So we go one, like that, and we're going around the thumb, not the forefinger. Two. I'm going to come around one more time, but I'm not going to come around my thumb. I'm going to come around these two bits. Like this. And then I'm going to take these two bits and kind of just shove them down underneath these two loops, but like not all the way through. I'm just kind of pushing them in a bit in the hopes that when we pull it tight, it's going to catch it all together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Keep practicing. Now I'm going to pull on this gently while still keeping this tight here. But what you might want to do is just loosen that first loop off, just a tiny little bit maybe to help it. So I'm going to pull on it, and I need to get the first loop off first, not the second one, but the first one. I've just literally pulled it off. And I'm pulling it tight like that. And then as I start pulling it tight, I'm going to start loosening my slack on these two fingers, move it a bit, and then pull that tight. And then both of them loops are now tight. And then if you get your two ends of yarn that you've just done and pull them as hard as you can, and if that knot does not come undone, then you are all good to go. Sometimes you pull on it and it comes apart and you're like, no, that's not quite right. But if you do this, oh my goodness, like that is so tight, it is not going anywhere. That ain't coming undone at all. Now, usually in the past, I would have, if I'm doing a jumper or something or a sweater, I might just trim those ends down a little bit. Because this is a scrappy blanket, I just left mine as it is. If you trim them too far down, then you do run the risk of your knot coming undone. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Right, we can now carry on with the rest of our crocheting. So let me come back here. I need to skip my next two stitches and then come in the third one and put 3 double crochets. Skip 2, put 3 in the next stitch. I'm just showing you this still because I'm going to show you what I do when I get to my knot. So skip 2, put 3 in the next stitch. Now when I first started making my blanket, I was very conscious of the knots and I was putting them so they all were on one side of the blanket, and I was going to call that the wrong side. But then I thought, when my family use it and the kids use it, they ain't going to be bothered about what side's wrong and what side's right. So in the end, I just stopped caring, and however that went in, that's how it stayed. So if you want to put them all so that your knots kind of fall on one side, then you have to be conscious about how you're doing your stitches and where that's going to fall. Or you can just be like me and just go, what will be in this scrappy granny adventure. Here it comes. 1, 2, I've got to put 3 doubles in. I'm literally just going to be like blah de blah de blah. Shove it in there. Lovely jubblies. 1, 2, 3, put 3 in there. And there we have our first colour change. So it is sticking out a little bit. Like I say, if you want to, you can trim it down just a tiny bit, but I ain't going to bother because I know this is going to get so much wear and tear on it. I want my knots to be nice and secure. So keep skipping 2 stitches and putting 3 doubles in every single... Oh no, what am I talking about? It's because I'm trying to concentrate. Right, hang on, rewind. Skip 2 stitches, put 3 doubles in the next stitch, and I'll meet you when we reach the other end of our foundation row. Okay, I'm coming up to the end of my first row. I've had another little colour change. You can change colour whenever you wish, by the way. I think my last blanket, to begin with, I was doing 2 or 3 rows of one colour and then swapping it out and then maybe doing shorter ones. It's up to you. Whenever you want to change colour, just do it. So, I am near the end. You should have 3 stitches remaining when you get near the end. If you don't and you have 4 or 2, do you know what? I am giving you permission to just bloomin' blag it and pretend that there's 3, because who the heck wants to go back and check where you've gone wrong? You've probably got like 1 stitch count wrong or something by mistake. Just blag it. It's a scrappy granny blanket. No one's ever gonna know. Okay, so I've got 3 stitches left. I have to skip 2 stitches, and in my final stitch I'm going to put 2 double crochets. Not 3, just 2. 1, 2. Now that's row 1 complete. That is as hard as it is going to get. From here on out, you can now activate mindless mode. Mindless mode activated. I don't know why I just did that. But it is activated right now. Right, row 2. So row 2 is going to start with 1 stitch in the first stitch and 1 stitch in the last stitch. Not 2 like row 1 did. Oh my goodness, hang on a minute. I'm all blooming. I'm all caught up. Okay, row 2. We are going to chain 3, which classes as your first double crochet. You're going to turn your work, and we're now going to be working in the gaps, not the stitches. So come to your first gap right here and put 3 double crochets. We're going to skip over these 3 and come to our very next gap and put 3 double crochets. Oh, I've just got twisted. And that is all you are going to do. The only thing you've got to think about with this stitch pattern is, am I ending with 1 stitch or 2 stitches? Because we're going to be alternating. It's going to be rows 3 and 4. Right, hang on, I'm talking other things at the minute. Just put 3 doubles in every single gap. So yeah, when we get to row 3 and row 4, those 2 are going to be repeated over and over again. So keep putting 3 double crochets in every single gap, and I will meet you at the end of this row. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of row 2. I've got 1 more gap to go in, so I'm going to put my 3 double crochets in there. Ooh. Like so. And then you've got 2 stitches left. One of them is a double crochet and the other one is the chain 3 from the beginning of the previous row. So you're going to come and skip over that first double. You're going to find the top chain 3 of your chain 3. I kind of like twist it towards me and then go through the center bit. You're going to place 1 double crochet in the top of that chain 3. And that finishes row 2. Okay, so as I said before, row 3 and row 4 are going to be constantly repeated, one after the other. So you're going to be repeating these 2 rows throughout. So row 3. Now we started and ended with 1 stitch. We're now going to start and end with 2 stitches. So it's just like row 2. We're going to, it's just like row 1, sorry. We're going to chain 3, turn our work, and we're going to place 1 double crochet in the same stitch as the chain 3. Now we're going to be putting 3 double crochets in every gap, but we are going to miss out this first one because if I pull this over like that, we're basically on top of that gap there. So you need to skip 3 double crochets and come to this gap here. And you are going to put 3 double crochets in every single gap, skipping over all the 3 doubles in between, and I will meet you back here when you get to the end of row 3. Okay, I am near the end of row 3. So I've got 1 gap left to go in because we're ignoring this little gap right at the end. So we're going to put 3 double crochets in this gap. Ooh, not like that though. 1, 2, 3. And then I've got 3 doubles to skip over, and then I've got my chain 3 from the beginning of the previous row. So as before, skip those 3 doubles, and in this top of the chain 3 we're going to place 2 double crochets. And that is row 3. Okay, now it's time for row 4. So we are going to start and end this row with 1 stitch. So we're going to chain 3, and that's going to class as your first double crochet. Turn your work, come down to this gap right here, the very first gap, and put 3 double crochets in that gap. Row 4 is completely identical to row 2. But I'm showing you row 4 because I'm going to say to you, once you've done this, you are then going to repeat row 3, and then you're going to repeat row 4, and then 3, and then 4, and then 3, and then 4. So we're just putting 3 doubles in all the gaps, and I will meet you back here at the end of row 4. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 4. So I've got 1 gap left to go in. I'm going to put 3 double crochets in there. That then leaves me with 2 stitches, a double crochet, and the chain 3 from the beginning of the previous row. I'm going to skip my double, and I'm going to come to that chain 3 and put 1 double crochet in the top of the chain 3. And that is row 4. So all you're going to keep doing is repeating rows 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4 until you are happy with the length of your blanket. Woohoo! So I'm going to timestamp row 3 and row 4, so you can go back and recap if you need to, and then eventually you'll have something that looks like this. So yeah, this is the one that I showed you in the beginning of the video. So this one is based on, well, not based, this one I used aran weight and a 6mm hook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my hardest to weigh it, but it is an absolute beast. And then I will base the yarn estimate off this, because obviously I'm still working on my DK version and it will probably take me another year to complete it, and that's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter how long it takes to make, as long as you enjoy the process. And this is so mindful and relaxing. Like, it's perfect if you want to sit, because I don't know what you're like, but when I watch a film, I have to be doing something at the same time. Crocheting, spinning yarn. I just can't sit there and watch the film. I have to be making something and being proactive. I don't know why, that's just how I am. And this is perfect for that. Absolutely perfect. So I haven't actually measured the length of mine, but my husband is like 6'4" or 6'5", something crazy like that, and it fits him with extra space as well. So yeah, I went big with mine. If I was making it just for me, I'm only 5'3" or 4, so I could have stopped ages ago. But I'm making it for everybody. What I will do, you can either Google blanket lengths and go from there. I might put some generic measurements in the written description as well that you can have a look at and browse and see what you think. And that's about it. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you for all of your support, because it is now December 2025. and just want to say thank you for coming along with my crochet journey throughout the whole of 2025. If you're old and you've been supporting me from the word go, love you millions. If you're new and you've just joined, love you millions too. And I hope you all have a fantastic Christmas and a very, very happy new year. And I will see you again in 2026 for more tutorials. Bye, love you all.